So, like, as a goalie, do you have like 5 or 10 saves? Like, do you have saves you remember from when you were 16 years old?
No saves. I mean, you have those.
You don't have individual, like, stack the pads against Grand Rapids in 1996?
Well,
or not, yeah, 1996.
I think in '97 there was a Miskovich breakaway that I stopped, but other than that, no.
Did he go to his backhand or?
I don't remember. No, but I mean, I think for goalies, I personally actually, I can remember the saves that I like tore my groin on or had to go have surgery on next. But saves, that's actually a really good question because I don't think there's any one save that I can recall.
What about a game though? You remember
a game?
Games?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what the funniest story is this was told to me secondhand when you were coaching in the elite developmental league.
Oh.
And you walked into I think it was the IRA at that point in Grand Rapids, and one of my friends, you were his coach, and he walked in and you go, this is the house that I built. And my friend goes, didn't you go to Gilbert? And you said, well, yeah, but you had how many saves in the IRA that one time?
Yeah, 62. So, yeah.
And it was a W?
And it was a W, so that was a big one. We wound up winning the IRC that year, which was a big deal. We were a single A team playing against Grand Rapids and other teams.
What's the IRC?
Iron Range Conference.
Okay.
It may have been renamed now, but it used to be the Iron Range Conference.
Nice. Okay, welcome in. This is episode 25 of the Individual Skills Hockey Podcast. My name is Miles Deep, and we are lucky to be joined by Pete Samargia today. Pete was a guest in season 1. I think it was either episode 2 or 3. We talked a lot about goalie development, but we got some more topics to discover today. How you doing?
Very good. Glad to be here, Miles. Thanks for having me back. I'm one of the OGs.
You really, and for those listening, Pete asked to do this, and we had been trying to do this for a while again for another episode because you're thinking about starting your own podcast. Is that correct?
I am, and you got me hooked up with the gear, so after this one, I'm going to have you over as the first guest on mine.
So this might be a dual release or something. I'll send you the recording, maybe use this as one of your episodes, one of your first episodes. So
that sounds great.
That's exciting. You'd be great at that. So since we last talked, the biggest news, I guess, congratulations are in order. You are the new goalie coach for the Minnesota Frost of the PWHL.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that all happened and how's it been so far?
Well, I worked with the goalies that are playing on the Frost in the summer, and they had some turnover, and I got lucky enough to be interviewed for the position, and one thing led to another, and I got the job, and it's been so much fun, and it's been challenging in different areas. That is something in regards to like just something that I've been looking for in regards to working with goalies that are at the highest level they could possibly be, and getting to be there more than just once a week. So
yeah. So like, what is the biggest difference, would you say, from a professional atmosphere based, you've done all amateur work before this. So what's the biggest difference that you've noticed so far?
Well, I mean, everything is professionally done. I mean, the PWHL in general is doing a great job of highlighting the game. I mean, right from the food to the way that these ladies take care of themselves and the atmosphere that's created, it's top notch from start to bottom. I mean, like just even what's really cool is being able to do the pre-games, like when you're doing the pre-game skates at the Excel, and like just, I mean, the little things that I think are a lot of fun for me personally as a coach. I have all the resources I could ask for to deliver to the goalies. I don't have to beg or plead. It's just, what do you need? And you get it.
Yeah.
So.
And then talk about, like, you mentioned that you've worked with Maddie and Nicole in the past. What's it like, I guess, stepping into a new role as their coach in a different capacity, I guess?
That is a good question because it does change a little bit. I mean, in summer, there's tinkering going on. We're talking a lot more about big overall changes that you're trying to make. And in season, we're looking for performance. So you do have to be careful that you're not unraveling something that doesn't need to be unraveled in the middle of a season. So in season, it's more of making sure that we're checking the boxes, going through drills that are going to help us with basic like plays that we're either struggling with or that we're going to see from an opponent. And then, of course, staying on top of our mental game and making sure that we're not too high or too low based on the results that we're getting.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about that with skaters all the time on this podcast and throughout the years coaching. It's like in season is not the time to, I guess, fix major deficiencies, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure it's the same thing with goalies. If they're struggling with an aspect of their game, completely fixing a deficiency is just, it's almost impossible because of the time constraints, right?
It is. I mean, what's amazing
between games, time constraints.
I will say this in regards to them fixing, like with Maddie and Nicole, they can, like, what's cool about this level is you tell them to do something, they can do it 100%. But what is different is how does that impact the way that they see the game and how they react to a rebound off of that play or whatever else might come from that. So making a change has to be really thought out and like, okay, was this just a one-time deal why we got beat? Or is this a pattern that we're seeing? And then we do, in fact, need to make a change. But as far as like your stance or your structure, that stuff, your ability to rotate and stay within the posts, like that's all taken care of in the summer for sure. But the nuance stuff, you do need to make a change if there's something that's happening consistently. And that is cool about the professional level where I tell them one thing, one time, and they can make that change. So it's equally as important to make sure that you're on task and on topic, because if you give them too much, you can send them off into the weeds.
Right. And then for younger goalies that are listening and parents out there, I mean, that's something to really take to heart of the goalies at the highest level are very good at improving, right? Mm-hmm. They understand what they need to do. So the quicker you can develop that process for yourself as, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old, the better off you'll be. And so I'm assuming that's what you work on with goalies all the time.
I would say, like, just to kind of go along with that topic, if there was one piece of advice I would give to any goalies that are listening to this or any players, you need to practice being coachable. Like, and what I mean by that is the goalies, the players, because, I've been doing this now for over 20 years, and the ones that actually move up and keep going and don't get constrained by their ceilings are the ones that are able to take constructive criticism, take it, absorb it, and then make the changes as quickly as possible. Like, commit to it and make the change. And as I say that, you also need to have a little pushback to understand, well, why is the coach telling me this? And pushback, I mean, like, ask good questions. Why is the coach coming up to me and saying, hey, if you're a forward, like, your shifts are a minute, and if they're not under 45 seconds, you're not going to play at the next level because the coach won't trust you.
Right.
So that's something that as a goalie, as you get up into the higher levels, if you're not fixing something, if you're not making that change after a coach has told you to do it, like, that is going to be a deterrent to you moving on to the next level. So as far as like the biggest skill to learn right now as you're coming up through youth, be coachable. Learn what it takes to be coachable.
Right. I think of like parallels to my golf game or my golf experience. For those that don't know, I played Division I golf at a small school in South Dakota, University of South Dakota. And what I always think about, and there's parallels between golf and goaltending, especially because of the mental aspect of it, but something I wished I learned earlier on in my career as a golfer was that ability to identify problems quicker and the reasonings of what just occurred so that you can correct maybe within a round. So it's like examining how after the first period a goal got past you and understanding the reason why and then how you can fix it for the second is just so huge.
100%.
So I don't know if you want to talk about that.
So, and I'll draw it back to like working with Maddie and Nicole. By the time I get to video with them, they pretty much already know what they did wrong. I'm either confirming it or giving them another idea of what they could have done in that situation.
Right.
Whereas when we're working with youth goalies or even my junior goalies, sometimes we don't even know why we did a certain save selection. And that's where you have to back it up and go, okay, like let's make sure that we don't have too much going on in our head, make sure that we're understanding of the why we're doing what we're doing in the net. And just like you said, when you do know that, you are able to make those changes a lot faster because you have the why I did it. What do I need to change? You know what that is. And then it's the execution in those next couple of days of practice.
Right. Okay, so I have one more kind of, I don't know how long this will go, maybe 10 minutes, maybe just 2. So I have a big question about the PWHL. I've watched a lot last year and this year, and I kind of and it's going to tie into our next big topic here. It's my kind of belief as I've been watching that the goalies seem to be a little bit, maybe a half a step ahead of the skaters in that league, and the evidence that backs that up, I guess. And I don't want to get into the male-female thing. We don't have to talk about that, but like, you have goalies in that league that played high school boys hockey. I mean, Maddie played for Andover High School. I'm sure there's other goalies in the league that I don't know of that, played boys up until a certain point. And then you see it in, I think the CHL. They've had some females on the bench backing up, whatever, get into a game. It seems like to me that goalies are a half step ahead, and because of that, the goal scoring might be a little bit down compared to when you look at the NHL. So I don't know. What's your take on that kind of my take, I guess, my hot take?
Well, what I would say is there are a few goalies that have above a 9.2 save percentage right now, so you're not wrong. What you're looking at is a lot of these goalies have Olympic level experience, and that puts them on for whatever this is worth, you have more training available to you. You've done more specific training for a longer period of time under very increased scrutiny, I would call it, and pressure. So now all of a sudden, there's probably a goalie on each team that has played for their country.
Yeah, so, when you think, there's 6 teams. Obviously, the Frost have Nicole and Maddie, so that's kind of wasting one there. But you look at Team Canada, Sweden, Finland.
They all have.
There's only 6 teams, so it's like they're
in the league,
and so they've had the preparation and skill development and mental development over the course of the last 10 years.
Yes.
So they're
ahead
of the game.
They're ahead of the game. So
and then you look at the skaters. Obviously, there's Olympians in that are skating, but they're the first line center and not the second and third line centers. So
correct, and they're not on the ice every single shift like the goalie. So yeah, they are making a difference in the league for sure.
Cool. So like I said, it's going to lead into my next big topic, and we're talking about kind of comparing development of skaters to goalies across all of youth hockey. Over the last few years, I've noticed situations where, if we think back to goalies that I knew when they were 10, 11, 12 years old, comparing to where they are now in high school or junior hockey, it seems like skaters outrace goalies earlier, and then goalies catch up. So is that true? Are you seeing that as well? And B, I guess just let's go with A first, because there's a lot more avenues we can go on this one.
Yeah. I would say that, yes, you're right, that right now it's a battle going on between kids are becoming way better at this sport way earlier, and it's even went down. And this isn't just 1 or 2 years ago. This is probably 5 or 6 years ago, where I've now seen it. A second year might going into third year is getting specialized training, whereas you would have never saw that with a goalie, because the old train of thought was you don't commit to being a goalie until you're a squirt.
Right.
And sometimes the older school of thought, and I'm not saying one is right above the other, because every person is an individual with certain circumstances and whatnot, but you had some goalies that turned out to be very, very good, like a Jackson Stauber, who didn't commit fully to goaltending until he was a peewee, right? Yeah. So what I see happening is now the table is kind of turned. Last night at Monday Night Skills for Wayzata, we had 27 Mike goalies out on the ice.
Really?
So this is a change and this is something you've helped implement, where 6 years ago we started the Might goalie group, and we had 8 goalies.
Yeah.
Right? And it grew, and then we had people like Mark Lavender and a bunch of other people at the Wayzata board level that have helped push this forward and bring it into like, hey, try goaltending. And what's happening is now we have a larger pool of goaltenders that are now coming into their 3rd year of playing hockey as a Mite, and they like goaltending. Yeah. And they're actually very good athletes. And now that they have like a kind of a sense of what goaltending is, and so do their parents, they're, I hope, less likely to say, nah, you're going to play center. You're going to play wing, you know. So it used to be where we had 2 goalies to every team.
Right.
And now, and I do think that that is a benefit, that we're short-sighted when kids think, hey, I want to be the only goalie on the team. You don't. Your practices are better with 2 goalies on the team. You compete harder. You learn how to like handle working against another person instead of just there's your net and you get to play all the time. Now, mind you, that's not always the case where you don't have enough goalies and 1 goalie's on a team. You can still be motivated and get better. So now the goalies are getting training at a younger age. They're getting fitted for pads. They're getting all these different things. They're starting to learn the techniques and whatnot. So I think the goaltending will start to get better to match the players, but right now I would say the players are like a year or 2 ahead of them.
Right. And, okay, so the biggest reason you think, and there's other reasons as well, and we'll get into those, but the biggest reason is you have squirt and peewee goalies that have played goalie for, you know, if you're second-year peewee, they've played goalie for maybe 5 years or 4.
Or 4.
Right. And the skaters have played 5 years of Mites plus, so 9 years.
Yes.
So they've played their position for 4 additional years.
And it's not that they've just been playing it. If we're talking about like a Minnetonka or a Wayzata or just a program that is invested in developing the kids too, like they've been working on shooting. They've been working on actual moves in the garage. Whereas that goalie might have just been going to a Monday night goalie skills or just putting his pads on and playing. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about other reasons that you see. I think you mentioned technology a little bit to me in the past. So talk about the technology thing that you're seeing.
So then we get into peewees and bantams, where there's been several things that have changed. Before, you wouldn't see somebody winding up for a slap shot in peewees when I played, because you would be getting body contact and there'd be different things, like you'd get hit.
Yeah.
So I think, and this isn't a bad thing, I'm just saying, like, now you have kids with sticks that are 50 flex or 45 flex or 40 flex in peewees, and they're able to shoot the puck and pretty good at it too. And you have a goalie that has only seen a handful of games and shots, and they're trying to catch up to this.
Right.
So the repetitions of just shooting pucks is much easier than for a goalie to get specific training on learning the technique and making saves. So then you get to bantams, and it gets it's even further. You can notice even more, because now all of a sudden they're way stronger. They have
half of them gone through puberty.
Yeah,
or they're going through it
right
now.
And they can really shoot it. And now they're starting to see the game where they can pass the puck and make plays. So now a goalie is struggling to keep up with his reads and figuring all those other things. Now there is something that I think has come out that is neat. It's called Sense Arena. It's where you can actually get into I think it's an Oculus. I have to look more into it, but for the kids that don't get on the ice as much and are a goalie, you can put those things on and start to actually get the pattern recognition of what the shooters are doing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, for me, you still need to learn how to read and react to plays and read shots off the stick blade.
Right. And then just like to kind of back this up, like what we're saying is like, maybe you can speak to this, but like the goalies around the state that are, you would say, that's a really good goalie. He's winning the game for his team. That level of goaltending. I mean, how often do you see that in peewees and bantams?
Not often. I mean, it's rare. I mean, it's like,
and it's typically due to size.
Size is a factor, and you have some just very good athlete goalies that come up on both the boys and girls side that are just you know right away. It's just the way that they move, their coordination, their athleticism. You look at it and go, whoa, you can't teach that. They just move like an athlete in the net, right? And as they get older, those are the ones that really start to hone in and do less and get better results. And we've been lucky to have a couple that have come through Wayzata. And it's not just, there's so many things that go into this to create that one where you go, well, every night we have this person in net, so we got a chance to win. But it's not just the technical and it's not just the physical. Their mental makeup and their emotional EQ, their awareness to like what a game is and how to play it is just on a different level.
Yeah. But, okay, so the whole reason I want to talk about this is like, okay, so what do we do, right? Like, what do coaches do? What do parents do? What do players do with their attitudes towards this and their outlook on everyone wants to play for their high school. Some people want to go play Division I. And I guess the example that I'll bring up is like when he graduated 3 years ago, Will Engelman is going to the University of St. Thomas. He plays for Penticton in the BCHL right now. And then just like talk about his that's the goal, right? That's what everyone wants to be. So talk about like his development path, like squirts, first year squirt, second year, like all the way through. Like when, as we talk about this, like when did he become the level of goalie that could win a game for a team?
So I remember him really struggling his first year at Bantams. I don't know if it was him or if it was Schilling, that I remember being at the rink and he was going out for his first game and he puked in a garbage can. But there's a certain level of care that has to come into this. So my advice, and I give all my goalies this, is how do you get to that? How do you get to be like a goalie that everybody is like talking about, or like you want to have that kid in your net? It's your attitude and it's your effort. I mean, it's that simple and so corny, but it's true. Like, and your attitude is made up of a couple different things. So how well you handle the pressure, right? How do you mentally break down the game and understand what's going on out there? Are you physically ready, right? So Will Ingman, one thing that he used to do is his dad had a Jugs pitching machine, and dad would have that thing smoking, ripping balls at him, and he'd be catching them with his goalie helmet on and just a glove. So you have to kind of be obsessed about it, and not in a bad way. Your attitude has to be one of like, I am looking systematically for things that I need to get better at and ways to develop myself.
Right.
And he did that with everything. Everything was gung-ho no matter what he did, and he got scored on and he didn't like it.
Yeah. But I like, it's so important to like realize, like, if you're struggling in Pee Wees right now, you gave up 7 goals to Edina, like it's okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like Will went through that too. And that's like, and it's because of this big thing of like the goalies being behind. They're a little bit behind 1 or 2 years. And it's like, so what advice do you have for coaches that have a goalie? Let's say you're coaching a Pee Wee team or a 12U team, and you have a goalie that maybe you are not fortunate enough to have 2 goalies. So you have one goalie on 12U whatever team, and she struggled for the last 5 games. She's really struggling. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's due to, maybe you played 5 teams in a row with a girl that can shoot the puck, 70 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. What's the path? What's the path to get that goalie back on track? Or I guess not stop the path of development for them for the long-term future. So. Great question, and I actually can speak to this because this is what I do. I'm going to say that number one is, first you got to recognize, what is this adversity doing for you? What are you learning from these results, right? It's not the end of the world. Like, you have to choose whether you're going to be coal or eggshells. Like, the coal, the pressure comes down, things are going wrong, it creates a diamond, right? Eggshells, they just break and crack. So how is this adversity going to push you forward? What are you learning from the things that were going wrong? And this is where a coach can make all the difference. Because as a goalie, we already know the puck went in the net. That stinks. We don't like it. You don't have to tell us, hey, you let in 4 there. What do you... Like, no, we get that. So what you can do is come up alongside of them and be like, what'd you see out there? And first and foremost, don't make any excuses, because they always come back to you, right? What can you control, right? What can you do to be ready for these situations the next time? And then leave it be there. Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest performance detractors is getting caught up in big emotions, right? So if you get caught in we just lost to the team that we really needed to win, and I let up 2 bad goals and we lost 4-2, and we could have won. If you get stuck in that, you can't get out of that past mentality, and you can't be fully functioning in the present to actually come up with solutions to get yourself ready for the next game. Whatever happened in the past is done. Learn from it and move forward. Mm-hmm. But I see what happens is you don't reconcile that. You don't have a coach come up alongside that goalie and go, hey, let it go. Here's where we made our mistakes. What can you do better? We're moving forward. Next game.
Right.
I trust, I believe in you. Right. It's important to remind them, hey, we believe in you. Because I can tell you right now, goalies, we don't get a lot of talking to, but we do read body language. So when we come in the locker room, we can feel it. We know when we let in bad goals or when we let in goals that were good. Whether we lose or win the game, I think most goalies are pretty aware of where they stood as in regards to performance of that day. Mm-hmm. But having a coach come alongside next to him and say, hey, yeah, this wasn't your best game, or here's where I think you could have done better, I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about so I sound like a broken record probably, but okay, so we know that the goalies are 1 or 2 years behind. Here's something I see all the time as people are starting, and it's today's society, it's a crazy youth hockey world. It used to be part of my intro, but people are deciding on what team to play for, or what, it could be AAA, it could be what high school to go to, what whatever. The skaters are planning out what to do. And a lot of times they look at the goalie depth chart, and this is just facts, and they say, well, in 3 years, we're not going to have a strong goalie. So why would I want to play for this team? And so just talk, what would you say to somebody that said, well, we don't have any good goalies 4 years away from our high school team, so we're not going to go to this high school?
I would say they must be Nostradamus, because I would say this, that when I come across, and I do come across people of this cut, that are like that, and I would say, first of all, we don't know what's going to happen next year. You don't know. I was a goalie that wasn't the varsity starting goalie till my senior year. We were 0-6, and then magic happened, whatever you want to call it. Things clicked, and we didn't lose again. So I think if you can bring it back to, hey, number one, are you having fun with the people that you're around? Because most of these kids are not going to play college hockey. So don't look past the number one reason why we started playing hockey. It's fun. So don't lose the joy. If you're enjoying it and you're having fun with your buddies, you're more likely to play harder and develop faster, whether or not your goalie is good or not good. And that goalie, if you're a good teammate, you can help that person by being a good teammate. So I think, again, it's looking at externals that you can't control, which steals the joy of the whole thing. And I see parents pulling their hair out. And if you're good, I'm going to tell you this, if you are good at hockey, where you have the ability to make it to the next level, you're not going to be missed.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not going to be missed. And it doesn't matter if you go here or there. I'm just going to tell you that, because a lot of people, you get that fear of missing out, and it's not real. In the moment, it feels like that's it. But if your son or daughter is blessed with these abilities, people are going to come and watch, and they'll know.
100%. And the example I often bring up to people that I talk to that are planning 3 years ahead and saying we have no talented goalies in our program, and I think he'd be okay with me saying this, and he just walked in behind the camera there. Our starting goalie right now at the high school, his name's Ryan Pellinger, and I coached him in Pee-wees. And he would admit this if he was sitting right next to you, Pete. He did not do very well that year. And, we tried to help him, and, he worked hard and all those good things. But, I just think back, and if you were planning your high school career to hopefully be on a good team based on that season from Ryan, you wouldn't be too optimistic. Now, he's played great this year.
Yep.
He's played great. So allowing kids to get better, knowing, and this is why I want to talk about it, the big thing is you got to know that these goalies will get better.
Yep.
If they're good kids and they work hard, and they have access to instruction, which we do in this community, and with affluent families and all that stuff. So it's like, relax.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's being part of cultures. It's not just one, but wherever you go, whether it be going to a weight room, whether it be working on your mental game, whether it be playing summer hockey, whatever you are doing, it's being part of a culture that is growth orientated. Like I just said a little bit ago, we have to learn how to take our losses and make them a win. And if you do that, you build up on those losses, they become wins. All of a sudden, you get past that fear mentality and you get into that growth mentality, right? And poof, you just take off because your talents just show up because you're not any longer worrying about what could go wrong. You're more focused on how I'm going to make this work.
Right. All right. Well, did we wrap that up?
Did we?
I don't. Did we solve the world's problems? Is there anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
I would say this is, we love this game, and I just think the last couple of weeks it's been on my heart just that as we watch people scratch and claw and like they're all worried about these different things, it's important to just be level-headed and committed to where you're at. And if there's any goalies or parents or anybody listening to this, it's very easy to get ahead of your skis. And when you do that, your kids can notice that. Your kids will notice that. It can create static inside the family, which will bring into the locker room and all the other stuff. So really, if you could take this one last piece of advice is enjoy what's left of the season this year and really stay focused in the moment.
Right. All right, so Frost game tonight.
Frost game tonight.
Who do we got?
Well, we got a big one tonight against Toronto. So.
Okay, and they're good?
They're good. All the teams are good.
So
all the games are like the one thing about the PWHL that is cool, and hopefully people are going to watch it here, they're all close games.
Right.
So it can go right down to the third period. You don't know who's going to win.
I'm just curious, one more, like what's the pre-scout for the goalies look like at that level? What do you guys go over pregame? So
what I do for pre-scout with goalies is I will do a general tendencies for the goalie, and then I'll break out, depending on how much they want.
For the opposing goalie to your players?
Yep, on the opposing goalie.
Okay.
How they play zone entry, how they play in zone, and then one or two things that you might look for against them.
Right. Like power play stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
If you have any questions for Pete, I know this is kind of a short one, but short's okay sometimes. Just reach out to me. I'll get the question to Pete. If you see Pete, he's 6'3", 6'4". He walks
6'2".
He walks around the rink. So, like I always say, just grab us and ask a question.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Miles.
Thanks.